talked to Dan, your brother, about his days at Brother Rice. I wanted to get your perspective as well. The MacLean family has a legacy. Dan started there. He was on the 73, 74, 75 teams, and Joe played.
He was on the 77 championship team.
77 team. And then another set of twins.
Yeah.
Fracassa's first captains was enough twins. And then here comes the twins from St. Bede,
Right.
Cranbrook Village. Tell me about your experience at Brother Rice.
Well, I mean, as you said, it was always something that we really look forward to, because seeing, our brother and all you guys that were like bigger than life to us, to eventually get a chance to play. I mean, it was just something you really look forward to. And going to Brother Rice itself was really something. And a lot of us went to St. Bede's for 8 years. So, going to a new place was going to be something. And we built Brother Rice up so big in our minds that the school itself was a little bit of a letdown. The facility, just based on what we'd always thought of, it was. And then the football team, however, that wasn't a letdown. That was better than advertised. That was, from the minute you walked in as a freshman, just something totally unique, and forever changed my life and my brother's as well.
Playing for Coach Fracassa, what are some of the things that stick with you today?
Again, a true original, I think, is one of the best things. I think that, some coaches, as I've learned a little bit about, they try to be somebody else. And Coach Fracassa was always his own man, and you could tell, and I really had never met anybody quite like him. So that was one of the first things. And then he wasn't a man to be trifled with. He was a disciplinarian. You were going to do things his way. We were going to become part of Brother Rice. Brother Rice wasn't going to be part of us. You were going to be, part of that organization. You were going to get your hair cut. You were going to have certain things you were going to do, and that was according to his plan. And so that was really something. And then, as you started to find, his practices were always incredibly organized, written out to the last detail every day. There was nothing really ad-libbed at all. It was according to script, and he wanted it that way. And they were rigorous, but I mean, even coming from St. Bede's, we had very physical practices on a grade school level. And I remember riding our bikes home from St. Bede's saying, I hope Brother Rice is going to be a little easier than this, because we'll be dead by the time we're seniors. And it was. I think they knew that he had a real good gauge on kids and what their competitive level was, and he could get you ready to peak at certain times before a game. And I think one of the other big things about Coach was his X's and O's ability was really second to none. He knew schemes. He knew what he wanted to do against an opponent based on what they presented to him, and if he went and scouted him, which he did a lot. And I also think the biggest part of him was the motivational factor. I mean, bar none. He could get you so fired up. I remember a couple of games, or literally couldn't wait to get off the bus, run onto the field, and take that team on, because you were just so sky high. And he was able to do that. And it was really something. And that was the advantage that we had over anybody else, I thought.
Well, one of the other advantages is he was always trying new things, and he was always seeking out input from a variety of sources, including the NFL.
Right.
Which he would bring back and talk a little bit about that competitive advantage in terms of how you were prepared, not just during football season, but year-round.
Right. I mean, I think, weightlifting and things like that were really just starting to come into vogue in the high school level. And he had a universal gym, but he was always trying to find things out. And he became good friends with a guy who ended up starting up the wrestling program at Brother Rice. So it was a little bit before your time. His name was John Majors, and John, was an Olympic wrestler, wrestled with the great Chris Taylor from U of M. So he knew his stuff, and he had talked to Coach Fracassa about implementing a weight program and how he was interested in coaching and teaching. And I think Coach was instrumental, in getting him in to Brother Rice. But he started up a whole new weight room and really had to work on getting us stronger and more prepared. And, I think always, too, the things you took for granted, like the flexing and stretching before practice even started, those really prevented injury but made you more limber and able to succeed, I think. And it was just something that he wanted done a certain way. But a lot of teams weren't doing it on the high school level back then. I mean, I remember going to watch teams warm up, and then, like you said, the off-season conditioning, the agility drills in the wintertime were really mentally challenging as they were physically challenging, to have to get up at 6 in the morning and get up over there. Because if you were getting up to start at 6 a.m., there was obviously, you were up earlier than that to prepare for them. And they were really a physical challenge. I remember doing those 100 down-ups in the gym and going into the shower after and trying to wash your hair, and your arms were, it was quite a challenge. But again, I don't think he ever would have us do anything that we couldn't accomplish. And he never went overboard, which I thought was one of the great things. He knew we weren't college athletes quite yet, and we knew we weren't pro athletes quite yet either, or what we aspired.
He knew how to get you to the edge.
Right, he sure did. He pushed you and challenged you. That's definitely one of his mantras.
There's a pretty famous quote from your brother Tim that really talks about the confidence that he instilled on his players. You want to tell that story?
Well, yeah, but it's actually Coach Kalzinski, I think, was the one. But again, it does lend itself to the program because, and I just was thinking about this the other day too. When you were playing, you had, I think, 4 varsity coaches,
Yeah.
and we had 3. We had Ron Kalzinski and Mike Popson were Coach Fracassa's assistants, and then the head coach was, obviously Al Fracassa. And then on game day, the 2 JV coaches and the freshman coaches would help come up and log plays, or scout, or somebody would be on the phones. But it's kind of unheard of today.
Yeah.
And so, it was that tight knit coaching thing. But again, the philosophy, everything, the footprint, everything was laid out by Coach Fracassa. So we're in a state playoff game against Sterling Heights Stevenson, and we had a comfortable lead until we started to turn the ball over. And we had fumbled a few times, some of our running backs, despite some humongous holes by the offensive line, I might add. But
Says an offensive
but anyway, what happened was we had missed a chance to score, and we had scored, and Sterling Heights Stevenson had come back, and I think cut the lead to 1 touchdown. Stevenson then was kicking off to us to make sure I had right. The ensuing kickoff, ball came down to our up back. He got hammered, fumbled deep in our own territory. Stevenson is knocking on the door. And, and a couple plays later, they're on the goal line and driving for, potential tying touchdown or take the lead if they wanted to go for 2. And it was kind of the momentum had clearly shifted in the game. Stevenson's fans were very huge. They had a large contingent they brought over from Sterling Heights, and they're feeling it. And their team is feeding off of it. And so they have 4 downs. It's 1st and goal. And the first play, they get nothing. Second play, they get nothing. And Stevenson calls a timeout. And I think they were on our 3-yard line. And in those days, the team didn't come out on the field for the timeouts. Your captain went over and talked to your coach. And so Tim goes over to see Ron Kalzinski, and he's coming over to tell him a couple things while they have a few minutes, and says, and before he could even say anything, he goes, "Hey, we've been practicing goal line all week. We got these guys right where we want them." And that was the confidence of our defense. They really didn't get scored on, and they were tough. We would get guys hurt in practice. We had to take the foot off the gas pedal a few times in our practices. Those guys went hard on the defensive side. So, but it's a great story, and it was, you know, a lot of fun back then. We had 3 captains. Our year was Tim, my twin brother, Jim Ostrowski, another St. Bede's guy, and Steve Allen, really hard-working guy who went on to play at the Air Force Academy as a wide receiver. And it was such a close-knit group, as all championship teams are, but, you know, just above and beyond that. After your coaches would leave for the day, we'd stay out on the field and talk a little bit about what we wanted to do, and guys were just really close friends, and even today, obviously, a lot of us are very tight.
You actually gone